Emma Hargrove pulled her old Honda Civic up the gravel driveway just as the last light of day bled from the sky. The house at 47 Willow Creek Lane looked exactly like the photos on the rental site, a two-story Victorian with peeling white paint, tall, narrow windows, and a wraparound porch that sagged like a tired smile. She killed the engine and sat there for a moment, fingers still wrapped around the steering wheel. The silence was heavy, broken only by the ticking of the cooling motor. "You wanted quiet," she whispered to herself. "This is quiet." After the divorce and the breakdown, quiet was all she had asked for. No more city noise, no more well-meaning friends checking if she was okay, no more mirrors in her old apartment that seemed to reflect someone she no longer recognized. She grabbed her suitcase and the small cardboard box containing her laptop and a few books, then walked up the creaky porch steps. The key the landlord had mailed her turned smoothly in the lock. The door opened with a low groan. Inside, the air smelled of old wood, lemon polish, and something faintly metallic. She flicked on the lights. A dusty chandelier flickered to life above the foyer. The house was bigger than it looked from outside. High ceilings, dark wooden floors, and walls covered in faded floral wallpaper. To her left was a sitting room with heavy velvet curtains. To her right, a dining room dominated by a long oak table. At the end of the hallway, a grand staircase curved upward into darkness. Emma smiled faintly. For the first time in months, she felt something close to relief. She carried her things upstairs. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall, large, with a four-poster bed and an antique full-length mirror standing in the corner. The mirror's frame was ornate, carved with twisting vines. Its surface was spotless, almost too clean compared to the dust everywhere else. She set her suitcase down and caught her reflection. Tired green eyes, messy auburn hair, a face that looked older than 32. She turned away quickly. That night she slept deeply, the kind of sleep she hadn't since the accident. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the lace curtains. Emma made coffee in the outdated kitchen and took it out to the porch. The woods behind the house were thick and green, birds calling from the trees. She spent the day unpacking and exploring. In the attic, she found old trunks filled with yellowed letters and black and white photographs. One photo showed a young woman in a white dress standing in front of the same mirror upstairs. On the back, in faded ink, Lillian, 1927. She never left. Emma chuckled. Creepy, but cute. By evening, she was settled. She cooked pasta, opened a bottle of cheap red wine, and sat at the dining table with her laptop, trying to work on the novel she had been avoiding for 6 months. Around 11:30 p.m., she went upstairs to brush her teeth. As she passed the mirror in the bedroom, she paused. Something felt off. Her reflection looked slightly delayed, as if it had hesitated half a second before moving when she did. She shook her head. Wine and exhaustion. Great combination. She climbed into bed and turned off the lamp. At 3:07 a.m., she awoke with a start. The room was freezing. She could see her breath in the moonlight. The mirror glowed faintly, not from light from outside, but from within, like a television left on in another room. Emma sat up, heart hammering. The glow faded the moment she looked directly at it. She got out of bed, walked to the mirror, and touched the glass. Cold. Normal. She stared at her reflection for a long time. Nothing unusual. Just a dream, she told herself, but she slept with the bedside lamp on for the rest of the night. On the third day, Emma found the first note. It was tucked under her pillow when she woke, a small piece of yellowed paper with elegant handwriting. "You look tired, Emma. You should rest more." She dropped it like it was burning. No one else had a key. The doors and windows had been locked from inside. She searched the entire house, closets, basement, attic. Nothing. That afternoon, she drove into town and bought new locks. The hardware store owner, an old man named Mr. Whitaker, raised an eyebrow when she asked for the strongest deadbolts. "Trouble at the old Miller place?" he asked. "It's Hargrove now," she said. "I rented it." He nodded slowly. "Folks say that house remembers things, especially the mirror. It belonged to Lillian Miller. She went mad in 1928, used to talk to her reflection like it was a real person. One night she just disappeared. They found her nightgown on the floor in front of the mirror, but she was gone. Emma forced a laugh. Sounds like a ghost story for tourists. Mr. Whitaker didn't smile. Some stories aren't for tourists, miss. That night she installed the new locks herself. Before bed, she placed her phone on the nightstand with the camera facing the mirror and set it to record. The next morning, the video showed nothing but 6 hours of dark, silent bedroom. Except at 3:12 a.m., for exactly 4 seconds, the mirror reflected a second figure standing behind her sleeping form, a woman in a white dress. When Emma rewound and paused, the figure was gone. She deleted the video with shaking hands. The notes kept coming. You smiled today. I like your smile. Stop biting your nails, Emma. It's not ladylike. The red sweater looks better on you than the blue one. Each note appeared in impossible places, inside her closed laptop, under her coffee mug, once even folded neatly inside her toothbrush holder. Instead of terror, something strange happened. Emma started talking back. At first, it was angry whispers. Who are you? Leave me alone. Then curiosity. Are you Lillian? One evening, she stood in front of the mirror after 2 glasses of wine and said aloud, "If you're real, show me something." Nothing happened. She laughed at herself and turned to leave. That's when the lights flickered and the temperature dropped again. In the mirror, her reflection didn't turn. It stayed facing her, smiling gently, while Emma's real body was already walking away. She spun back around. The reflection was normal again. From that night on, Emma began leaving notes of her own on the dressing table. What happened to you, Lillian? Why are you here? The answers came the next mornings, always in that same elegant handwriting. I was lonely. The mirror took me. I waited a long time for someone kind. You remind me of myself before the sadness. Emma found herself looking forward to the notes. The house no longer felt empty. For the first time since losing her husband and the baby she was carrying, she didn't feel completely alone. She even started dressing up a little, brushing her hair carefully before standing in front of the mirror as if she had a silent audience. 1 week later, the tone of the notes changed. You laughed at Mrs. Whitaker today in town. That wasn't nice. You spent too long talking to the man at the grocery store. He wants something from you. Emma frowned. She had barely spoken to anyone. That night she dreamed she was inside the mirror, looking out at her own body sleeping peacefully in bed. She pounded on the glass from the inside, screaming, but no sound came out. She woke up gasping and found fresh scratches on the inside of her forearms, thin, precise lines like someone had dragged fingernails across her skin while she slept. The next note read, "Stop fighting it. It hurts when you fight." She tried to leave, packed her bags, got in the car, turned the key. The engine wouldn't start. Not a click, not a sound. She opened the hood, everything looked normal. When she went back inside to call a mechanic, her phone had no signal, even though it had full bars 5 minutes earlier. She sat on the porch steps and cried for the first time in months. That evening, a new note appeared on her pillow. Crying makes your eyes puffy. I don't like it when you're ugly. Emma stopped fighting. She began spending hours in front of the mirror, talking to her reflection as if it were Lillian. She told it everything, the divorce, the miscarriage, the night she had taken too many pills and woken up in the hospital. The reflection never spoke, but the notes answered every question. One night, at 3 a.m., Emma stood in front of the mirror in her nightgown and whispered, "I wish I could trade places with you. You seem peaceful." The temperature plummeted, the mirror surface rippled like water. And suddenly, Emma was looking at herself from the other side. She was inside the mirror. Her real body stood outside, smiling serenely, wearing the white dress from the old photograph. It raised a hand and waved. Emma screamed and slammed her fists against the glass. It didn't break. Her body outside simply turned, walked to the bed, and lay down as if nothing had happened. She watched herself fall asleep from inside the mirror. Hours passed, maybe days. Time felt different. She watched her body wake up, make coffee, work on the novel, go into town. Everyone smiled and said how much better she looked, how calm she seemed. Inside the mirror, Emma slowly stopped screaming. She began to feel quiet, peaceful. The notes had stopped because there was no longer any need for them. 3 weeks after Emma moved in, a new tenant arrived at 47 Willow Creek Lane. Her name was Claire. She was 31, recently divorced, carrying the quiet weight of a lost pregnancy. She had the same tired green eyes and auburn hair. When Claire first stepped into the master bedroom, she paused in front of the tall mirror. For a moment she thought she saw a second figure standing behind her reflection, a woman in a white dress, smiling gently. Claire shook her head and smiled back at her own reflection. "You look tired," she said